Welcome to the Drunk Dietitians podcast, co-hosted by your favorite tipsy registered dietitians, yours truly, Sammy Previtt, co-owner of Dietitians of Palm Valley, and Jenna Warner, owner of Happy, Strong, Healthy. Us dietitian besties can't stand diet culture bullshit and love keeping it real. Our mission is for all humans to believe that they are made for so much more than chasing a smaller body. We are also here to share with you that food can be fun and pleasurable again. Although we're medical professionals, we are human too. We are not afraid to share our deepest secrets and how years of our lives were taken by diet culture. We started this podcast so no human has to feel alone in their journey towards food freedom. So grab your favorite cocktail and join us for our favorite casual happy hour and expect to laugh, cry, learn, and grow. Cheers. Welcome back to another episode of Drunk Dietitians. This is a solo episode with yours truly, Sammy Previtt, owner of Find Food Freedom. If you don't already follow me on Instagram, please give me a follow. And if you don't follow Drunk Dietitians already on Instagram, which I'm sure that you do, but if you don't, our handle is Drunk Dietitians. We post so much amazing content on there of just little snippets that you hear on previous episodes. So I feel like that could be a great option for you. If you love this podcast, go on and follow. But today's episode, dun dun dun. We're going to get into the Jillian Michaels scandal in the intuitive eating world. And I think it's important that we all just take a really deep breath right now. In through the nose, out through the mouth. Let's let it out. I can feel my chest tightening as I even say the words Jillian Michaels. But no, this is not going to be a bashing Jillian Michaels episode. That's not what this is about, to be honest, at all. What this is about is when we hear a health professional or fitness professional not only spreading false information, but harmful information about intuitive eating, it is our responsibility to not only call that out, but talk about why it's wrong. And that's what we're going to do today, because, you know, you've seen me post on social media about it, funny TikTok videos. You've seen my colleague and co-host Jenna at Happy, Strong, Healthy RD on Instagram post about it. And then we've pretty much like reshared every single non-diet medical professional dietitian who's also posted about it and their thoughts on it. So you've seen stuff about it, but I felt like just, you know, resharing things and posting a funny TikTok video wasn't enough. I think it's important to dive into why it's wrong, what she's saying, and what is harmful about it. And I have my cell phone here where I literally just listened to her video. So I wasted 18 minutes of my life. I believe that's how long her video was, listening to her spread false information about intuitive eating. But what I did is basically anytime she said something that I was like, oh, triggering, or, oh, no, that's actually wrong, I just wrote it in my phone. So I don't have data in front of me. I don't have a long list of notes. I'm really just going to go through some of the things she said and talk about why it's harmful and why it's not right, first of all, but also harmful. And so, you know, there might be some things that I say that are triggering, and I just want to kind of put out that trigger warning right now that her video is also very triggering. So if you're listening to this episode and you say, oh my gosh, I want to go watch the Jillian Michaels video, you don't really need to do that. Like, you don't need to go watch it. I don't even recommend that because it's so triggering. I'm going to talk about the triggering thing she said here. So it's just like double trigger if you do that. So let's just stay here in this safe place together and talk through it. And that's what we're going to do. This is not edited. Just going to kind of go off the cuff and we'll dive in together. So the first thing, well, first I'm going to give a little background. So she goes into I guess she's been getting a lot of questions from her following, her over, I don't even know how many followers she has. I know it's over 1 million, maybe over 2 million. So she's been getting a lot of questions about intuitive eating. Why? Because it's growing popularity. Why? Because everyone's fed up with diet culture. Why? Because diets are harmful and they don't work. And there's over 120 studies of intuitive eating and counting. So it's starting to pick up traction, right? And so she's been getting a lot of questions and she wanted to give her opinions on intuitive eating. So what she did was go to intuitiveeating.org, which is the official website of Evelyn Tribole and Elise Reich, the authors of the book. And she pulled up they have like a little blurb on each principle. There are 10 defined principles of intuitive eating. And she read them aloud and basically just said like, I agree with this, or like, this is wrong. And I just found it honestly comical / like my blood pressure's rising while I'm even thinking about it. Anyways, let's get back. So one of the first things she says out of the gate is she threw out this just arbitrary remark that any person that is a size 16 or bigger is not healthy. Wow. That's all I have to say to that. But no, let's dig into that a little bit. So that is just pure false. Like there's no backing to what she's saying there, because I, for example, work with many, many clients that come in all shapes and sizes of different bodies. And I know a ton of people who are a size 16 or greater that have wonderful lab values, such as cholesterol, blood pressure, blood sugar, all of those things. And I work with many people in smaller bodies, smaller than a size 16, who have increased cholesterol or blood pressure or cancer or whatever it may be. So just putting a blanket statement out there that the size of somebody's body is going to determine their health is just pure, like it's wrong. It's truly not wrong, or excuse me, it's truly not right. Oh my gosh. So another way, and I actually have a book sitting in front of me that I want to pull out that goes more into weight science, which is I think what we need to somehow ship to Jillian Michaels. She needs to look at some of the research by Lindo Bacon. They are a researcher, one of the leading researchers in weight science, and they are also the author of Health at Every Size and Body Respect. And they talk all about in that book the true science behind weight and size. And one thing that I'm actually gonna read an excerpt from it because I just think it's gonna just do such a better job of explaining. So I'm gonna do that. So fat plays a substantive role in causing disease. This is a myth. Okay, so what I just said is a myth, and then here's how we can kind of disprove that and walk through that a little bit. Okay. It is true that diseases are more commonly found in heavier people. However, that doesn't mean that weight itself causes disease. Much of the evidence on this topic is based on research, which is a type of research that tracks people over time and examines differences between groups. And while many epidemiologic studies have shown that larger people are more likely to develop several diseases, it is important to note that I cannot say this word for the life of me. Epidemiologic research shows association, not cause. So I'm going to give you an example here. Consider the difficulties that arise when we try to assign causality in this data. So let's look at less charged association to understand this better. There's a lot of research that shows that bald men have a higher incidence of cardiovascular disease than men with lush heads of hair. So, do we look at that data and conclude that baldness causes cardiovascular disease, or that hair protects against cardiovascular disease? No. Examination of other research shows us that bald men have higher level of testosterone, and that higher level of testosterone increase risk of cardiovascular disease. In other words, testosterone is a confounder that explains the relationship between baldness and CVD, or cardiovascular disease. Coming back to the association between weight and disease, there are many traits and behaviors that differ between lighter and heavier weight people that could explain increased disease incidence much more readily than the size of somebody's body. And so we could look at fitness, discrimination, dieting, and weight cycling. All of those things increase the risk of someone's disease, and that is uncoupled from the size of their body. So we could do a million episodes on this, but I want to get it to everyone that needs to hear this, that a size 16 or above, if that is your pant size, that does not mean that you are unhealthy. That is pure, just wrong information. The size of your body does not determine your health. There are so many factors uncoupled from the size of your body. Now, another just right out of the gate thing that Jillian Michaels said is that women do not need more than 1,600 calories a day. And I laugh at this information when I hear this, that somebody could even say that. First of all, she has whatever it is, over 2 million followers, and you don't know these 2 million people. You don't know that they don't need more than 1,600 calories. And what we do know is that, 1,200 calories is the needs of a 2-year-old. 1,400 calorie needs is the calorie needs of a 4-year-old. So why would a adult human being woman only need 1,600 calories? That's just bullshit. We know that many BMRs, or basal metabolic rates, for women, generally speaking, are anywhere between, let's say, 1,200 to 1,600, and those are calorie needs at rest if you're not moving. Now, again, when she's opening a video about intuitive eating, which is literally all about building trust with your body, not counting numbers, not basing weight off of a size, she's opening the video with telling people that they don't need more than 1,600 calories. And if you're a size 16 or above, you're not healthy, which that right there is like we should just end this episode here. That's how false all of this information is. But that is very, very false. I've worked with women of all different shapes and sizes who need much more than that. And we know that when we look at basal metabolic rates, or when we hear even the number of 1,200 calories, which gets thrown out all the time of a need for a woman, that is usually the lowest basal metabolic rate we'll see, which means your heart, your lungs, your brain, all of your organs that need to function need that amount of calories when you are lying in a bed doing nothing. So if you're breathing, talking, walking, working out, moving your body, you need more. Period. Like, end of discussion. But I don't want to even linger on calories that long, because the entire practice of intuitive eating teaches you how to remove the emphasis on external numbers and trust your body again, which clearly Jillian doesn't understand that, because that's literally what she started the video with. So, okay. Guys, I just want you to know, I'm just going to give you a little setting too, so you understand where I am right now. I'm in my childhood room in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. My husband and I drove up here for a week, and I'm just laughing because I'm recording this podcast just in my room from childhood, just laughing about Jillian Michaels. I wish you could all just be here with me and we could just do this in person. Anyways, let's move on. So, okay. The one she goes to the one principle is make peace with food. Okay. Oh Lord. She goes, these are her words. These are her words, not mine. When she talks about the unconditional permission to eat, which is the foundation of intuitive eating and making peace with food, she says, holy balls, don't do that. Thank you, Jillian. What a great remark. All right. Whew. She goes on to say that she doesn't understand the references that are made in intuitive eating, because they're so intense and so hostile. And that's ridiculous, because diet culture is so intense and so hostile. So when we're talking about intuitive eating, we have to get to the root of the issue. She used the analogy of, if we give ourselves the unconditional permission to eat, that would be the same as giving ourselves the unconditional permission to smoke. No, and drink alcohol. She also talked about that. We need food to live and to function. We do not need tobacco and alcohol to function. So that analogy is just pure garbage. But what I want to get back to is this idea of the unconditional permission to eat. And truly, we got to cut Jillian some slack. She's reading this from a diet culture lens. So she's going off of what she's interpreting, right? And I find this with a lot of clients, right? Is because if they're disordered or have disordered eating behaviors, which clearly Jillian does, if this is what she's saying, she thinks that what we're saying is that when you have the unconditional permission to eat, is that you should, and we recommend eating pizza, cake, cookies, donuts, ice cream all day long, every day. Don't stop. Just eat until you feel like you're going to explode. Okay. Do you have the permission to do that? 100%. Absolutely. And you have to understand that you have unconditional permission to eat, to believe that you are not going to be restricted. But, huge but, when we talk about the unconditional permission to eat, that is with attunement. That is the whole idea, that with all of the 10 intuitive eating principles, is that they intertwine. And that yes, you have unconditional permission to eat, but can we listen to how our body feels? So I'm going to use an example of a client of mine who struggled with binge eating disorder. And she talks about how she one night had 6 pints of Ben and Jerry. Okay. What Jillian is thinking, and that would be thinking of that in this specific instance, that she's thinking that as intuitive eating dietitians, we are promoting, yes, you should eat 6, whatever, pints of Ben and Jerry. No, that is not what we are promoting. I am not promoting my clients to do that. Do they have permission to do that? Absolutely. Eating 6 pints of Ben and Jerry does not change your moral value as a human being. And that's where, with this making peace with food principle, so many people hold moral value to food. So if I ask you, let's say you're listening to this and you have some fear foods, maybe it's Ben and Jerry's, maybe it's chocolate, maybe it's pizza, or you're a bad human being for eating that food. If you say, no, that doesn't change my value, like that doesn't change my character, my moral value, any of that, that's awesome. But then if I say to you, okay, but do you feel guilt or shame for eating 6 pints of Ben and Jerry, or for eating pizza, or whatever that thing is, and you say yes, well, we know that guilt is a moral emotion, and that's a cognitive dissonance. Your belief system is not matching up with your logic. You're saying, I know I'm not a bad person if I eat X, Y, or Z, but then you're feeling guilt and shame associated. That's a cognitive dissonance. That means you do not have peace with food. And that is something that when we work with clients, we work through that. So when people come to intuitive eating, they've typically dieted for a lot of their life or have followed a lot of food rules. And so Jillian included, when she says, holy balls, don't do that. Chances are, if we gave Jillian permission to eat, she's thinking of that time when she comes off of her dieting or her strict food rules, where she feels out of control around food. And that's a normal feeling if you've been restricted for a really long time. But as we start to give yourself permission to eat food and listen to your body with attunement, you'll start to notice that, oh, it doesn't feel really good when I do that. And maybe I could do something differently. Maybe I could try, eating the ice cream and enjoying it. And then when I feel physically full, I can put it away and I can see how I feel, because I can, not because I have to. That is dramatically different. And that is where, unfortunately, it looks like Jillian just doesn't understand that principle. And I'd be happy to help if she needs it. So we're here, arms wide open. Let's see, what else? Talked about. Oh, okay. So that also is food habituation 101. If you think about food habituation, if you Google food habituation, it's highly studied, right? Is that if there's a food that you're saying I shouldn't eat, or I can't eat, or I'm not allowed to eat, you're going to eat it. I'm not a fortune teller. I'm not a psychic. I'm going to tell you, you're going to eat it, and you're going to eat a lot of it. And you're going to typically eat a lot of it because what will happen is you're pulling that pendulum back, you're restricting. And then when you finally let yourself eat something, you drop that rule, and you have urgency to eat even more of it, because now you're breaking the rule and you're saying, okay, I'm going to eat this. And then as soon as I'm done eating, I will never eat it again, right? So that's restriction and binging 101. But when we look at food habituation, which is highly studied, and one of my favorite studies is in college kids that were told for 1 month, if they attended this like seminar, they were to get free unlimited pizza as much as they wanted every night for dinner. And they were like, yes, this is amazing, loving it. And give it like a week or two. And by the time they got to that second week, they wanted nothing to do with pizza. They couldn't even look at pizza anymore. And that is the research of food habituation. Once we allow ourselves and give ourselves full permission, unconditional permission to eat whatever we want, then we don't binge on it. Then it takes us less amount of that food to be satisfied. So that is something that, again, is a really big part of that principle, and something really, really important to take note of. So I'm not going to get into, there were a few that she like read the principles and she was like, agree, which I was like, great. Okay. She agrees with some of them. So I'm not going to get into the ones that she agreed with, because let's just leave it at a win. The fact that she's agreeing with some of these principles. Let's see here. Oh, this was an interesting one. So the principle on feel your fullness. She wrote, you can feel disappointed in yourself, but don't have to beat yourself up. Let's sit with this one a little bit. So, okay, first of all, I think it's great that she's saying you don't need to beat yourself up. That's a positive. But she said that you can feel disappointed in yourself. So I want you to do me a favor, and we're going to take this outside of ourselves for a bit. And we're going to talk about, again, we're going to bring it outside of ourselves. So what I mean by that, I want you to imagine if you're talking to your best friend, your life partner, your daughter, your son, your spouse, whoever it is, someone who's super, 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 super important to you, right? If every time that they ate something that they air quotes shouldn't have, or ate something past a point of fullness where they felt uncomfortable, if you shared with them how disappointed that you were in them for doing that. So let's say I'm talking to my husband and I said, oh, Luke, I am just so disappointed in you that you would eat that third slice of pizza. Like, I'm really, really disappointed. How do you think my husband would feel if every time he ate something he air quotes shouldn't, or ate too much of something, that I shared my disappointment in him? How do you think that would, how would that sit with him? Probably not well, right? And so what's really, really important to take note of is that if we allow this disappointment in ourselves, but you would never say that outwardly to your partner or to your son or to your daughter, it is not okay to say it to yourself, because that starts to flame that whole guilt, shame spiral, is that disappointment. And sure, as she said, you might not be beating yourself up, but if you're constantly disappointed in yourself, how is that going to feel? Right? And so we have to start looking at our relationship with food, our relationship with fitness, our relationship with our body as relationships with loved ones. And we would never share disappointment like that with someone. We would just, be able to talk to them. Maybe this is what I would invite you to do. Let's say, I'm going to go back to my husband's example. Let's say he ate however many slices of pizza and felt really uncomfortable. Instead of me saying, I'm disappointed in you, what if I asked him, okay, so what I'm hearing you say is that you sound uncomfortable right now and you sound physically unpleasant. What do you think maybe we could do differently next time that might feel physically pleasant or that might make you feel better? Why can't we say that? Why does it have to be disappointment? And that's where our internal dialogue is such a big part of intuitive eating. It's truly like the most important part. So no, disappointment you don't need to feel in yourself if you break a food rule or don't eat the right, air quotes, right thing or wrong thing or whatever it is. You don't need to feel disappointment in your food choices at all. You have permission to just make choices, move on from them, look at every eating experience as an opportunity to learn about your body instead of pass fail, because that is not going to serve you. So let's go right into then the next principle is coping with our emotions with kindness. So this is the emotional eating, or the principle that kind of dives into emotional eating a little bit. She goes into saying with the principle that says, don't eat when you're angry. Weight is hard to keep off due to emotional eating. And then she said she was going to write a book on this. And in my notes, it looks like I wrote in all caps, please don't write a book on this. Oh, Lord. Okay. So, and I don't even truly recall all of the nonsense that was spoken in this one. So I'm just going to speak on the truth about this principle. So this entire principle, it is meant to normalize eating as a coping mechanism. We are all human beings. We were put on this earth. The first level of comfort for us is either our mother's breast or the bottle. So food is comfort. It will always be comfort. If you think about, breakups, if you're sitting around with your girlfriends eating Ben and Jerry's and maybe that the ice cream was comforting, or maybe when you were younger, if you fell down and scraped your knee and your family gave you some fresh cookies, out of the oven, and that made you feel happy or safe, right? That started to culminate that relationship with food and emotional eating, or food as comfort. So I want you to know that because you're a human being, food is always going to have a sense of comfort. Now, with intuitive eating specifically, it's important to recognize that emotional eating is normal. It is not bad. There is no moral value. And in the same breath, when we're looking at these other principles of intuitive eating, we want you to feel physically, emotionally pleasant in your body. So if you find that, when you're stressed or when you're angry or whatever it is, that you're turning to food and you're eating to a point of feeling physically unpleasant all of the time, we want to think about, how can we look at this situation and know it is totally okay? You have that permission. So when you start to hear that voice in your head that says, I shouldn't be doing this, I shouldn't be doing this, I shouldn't be doing this, you can calm that voice down and say, I can do this. This was a coping mechanism that I picked up, and it's kept me safe for a lot of different instances in my life. But are there other things that I could do right now in addition to eating, not instead of eating, that could honor my body? And so my therapist used this example in our group coaching. She said the pause, process, postpone method. So when you feel emotional eating coming on, can we take a pause? Can we take a big deep breath, right? What am I feeling right now? What emotion am I feeling? What do I need? Process that, right? That's processing. What am I feeling? What do I need? And postpone. Before we go to eating, even though we know that eating is a viable option, we're more than welcome to do it. There's no guilt, there's no shame. You have permission to emotionally eat. Is there something else that may feel good for you? Breathing exercises, maybe change of environment, maybe going out to your lanai or your deck or your patio or your front porch, or going outside and just letting the sun hit your skin, or maybe it is calling a friend for support. Maybe it's messaging your dietitian. When we work with clients, they have access to us 24/7, like a text message platform. So maybe it's messaging your support system. Is there something that you can do before you get into the eating experience that's going to feel physically pleasant? And then if you try that and it doesn't work and the coping mechanism, it's not enough, the food is what we need to go to, then we go to food and we do it, and we know that that has no moral value. But this is such an important piece, that emotional eating has no moral value. You are not a bad person if you do it. It is learning that we can normalize this behavior and continue to build other coping mechanisms, other tools in your toolbox. I'm like laughing more on my notes than I am even her video at this point. So the respect the body principle. She breezed right over that one and said that she agreed with it. And I just wrote, what? In all caps with a bunch of question marks. And the reason I did that is because the respect your body principle is the idea of taking care of your body, regardless of the size of it, honoring it, being kind to it. Meanwhile, she opened the video saying that if you're not a size 16, that you're not healthy, which is just a completely fat phobic topic, or thing to say. So I just didn't understand how she agreed with that, because that's like just completely opposite of how she opened the video. So that was just more a question for her, I guess. And then of course, as we get into principle number 9, which is movement, feel the difference. So with intuitive eating, the whole idea is finding, movement practices that feel good. Walking, yoga, maybe it is intense lifting. If you just like love to put Lizzo on and just like go crazy and like do these like amazing lifting routines, like that's great. Whatever that thing is for you, right? That's great. So she agreed, but big but, then went on to make this a sales pitch that movement can be quick and can change your body to get results, and will then better your self-image, which goes back to why I had question marks with the respect your body piece, because basically what she's saying is that if you work out really intense, you'll get quick results, which will give you a smaller body, which then will make you more confident in yourself, when we know that your body image has more to do with your brain than your physical body. So if we go back to bringing this outside of ourselves again, imagine that every day I saw my husband, I said to him, ugh, I really, really wish that you were like 20 pounds lighter, right? Every single morning. Let's say I said this to him. How do you think my husband would feel about his body image? Do you think he would feel loved and respected by me? And then if one day, let's say months later, I just woke up and I looked at my husband, I said, you know what? Never mind. I love your body. Do you think he would feel loved and respected by me and believe me in that instance? No, absolutely not. So body image actually has to do more with our brain and our mindset and the psychology of, again, going back to the body respect principle, which I just don't think she understands, because if she's saying that your self-image and your confidence is tied to the size of your body, well, that's just not true. So yeah, that's kind of my thought on her principle number 9. And for any of you who need resources on personal trainers that are not fat phobic and that will love you no matter what size your body is and will help you enjoy fitness again. There are many amazing people doing that. And one of our favorites is Tally Rye, who we actually got on this podcast previously. So if you go back to our episode with Tally Rye, she has the Train Happy podcast. She has the book Train Happy. She's all about intuitive fitness. And then also Lauren, I don't want to butcher her last name. I believe it's Lavelle Fitness. She is on Instagram. She is an amazing personal trainer who is all about just body positivity and movement that feels good for your body. You do not have to listen to a trainer that tells you, sure, I want you to enjoy movement, but you also have to make your body smaller and that'll also give you more confidence. Like, no, absolutely not. Like, cancel that shit. Like, no way. And then lastly, okay, last one here. We're getting to principle number 10 that she did not agree with, which was honor your health with gentle nutrition, right? Which is the principle on nutrition. And she said, I don't understand why that's there, because that's the complete opposite, or the direct opposition to unconditional permission to eat. So again, when she's saying that, she doesn't have an understanding of what intuitive eating is. You can have an unconditional permission to eat and still want to drink more water because it feels good. You can have an unconditional permission to eat and want to eat a salad because it's crispy and crunchy and refreshing and it feels good. You can have unconditional permission to eat and still say no to brownies when they're offered to you because you just don't want a fucking brownie. And this is where there's just such a huge misunderstanding of what intuitive eating is when she was going through this. And then last but not least, to close it all out, she goes on a rant and ends with, I get it. I get it. I get intuitive eating. I get it. No, you don't. And then turns it into a sales pitch for all of her diet plans and workout plans, and says that she has a million different diet plans and a million different workout plans because it's individualized and she wants it to work for you. Honey, if you've had to create a million different plans and it's still not working, probably because it doesn't work. We know that diets don't work. We know that 2/3 of dieters will gain back more weight than they originally lose. At the end of the day, this is not to bash Jillian Michaels. If anything, I have empathy for her because it's very clear that she does not understand intuitive eating. But I also have the responsibility to call her out with kindness and call her into a conversation because she's spreading extremely harmful and false information about intuitive eating, which helps so many people that I've seen one-on-one group settings all over on our social media platforms heal their relationship with food, their body, improve their health, and help them build that trust with their body again. So Jillian Michaels, unfortunately, you do not get it. And if you do want to get it, I'm sure myself or many other dietitians trained in intuitive eating would be happy to have a conversation with you so you can get it, so that you can stay away from spreading harmful messages, and so that anybody who hears these messages from you will not be turned off by intuitive eating and can truly understand what it is. So if you are looking for more information on intuitive eating, intuitiveeating.org, which is the official website, has wonderful information. If you just want the 10 principles and you're like, you know what? I don't even know what the 10 principles are. If you go to findfoodfreedom.net, you will see we have a free Find Food Freedom guide that has the 10 intuitive eating principles. They'll send them right to your inbox. It has some journaling prompts so you can learn more. So happy to just kind of gift that to you for free so you can see that there. But please know that if you're looking for intuitive eating information, you can go to a dietitian like myself or the thousands that are out there that are trained in intuitive eating. You do not need to go to a fitness professional who's never heard of it, just Google searched it, and then is just blatantly giving her false opinion on the internet. If you want someone to do your taxes, you go to an accountant. If you want someone to fix your car, you go to a mechanic. If you want someone to help you with intuitive eating, we're here to help. But please, please, please seek out a professional who can help you. Thank you so, so much for listening to this episode of Drunk Dietitians. These solo episodes are going to be more popular because we're just putting out fires all over the world with false information. So if you liked this episode, please give us feedback. Please rate and review our podcast. Please share this with a friend who needs to hear it. We are so thankful for your time. We're so thankful that you listen to this podcast, and we're just thankful for you.
Guys, thank you so much for listening and being here with us. I am virtually cheersing all of you. We absolutely loved sipping on a cocktail with you and sharing as many nutrition tipsies as possible during this episode. We know there are a ton of pods out there, and we are so appreciative of your time that you spent listening to us today. Please be sure to check out the show notes for episode details and all of our guest information. We promise to keep bringing you the best and the most knowledgeable and fun guests we possibly can. Please be sure to subscribe, like, share, and post if you enjoyed our content today. And visit us on Instagram and Facebook at Drunk Dietitians to find out what is up next for us on the pod. We absolutely love you. We appreciate you and can't wait to spend more time cheersing with you soon.